Welcome to another episode of Motivation Limitless. I have a special guest speaker, Mr. Chidi Okezie. Super excited to have you. Obviously we go back a little bit to running on the same club team. But right now you're doing great things. You've always been doing great things. Really excited to actually see you at I'm not going to say your full potential because I know you can run faster than what you're doing, but definitely being able to see you top on the boards as always, just getting back to where you used to be as well. Can you just introduce yourself a little bit? Let us know where you're from, and just let us know what sports you are involved in.
But hello, everybody. My name is Chidi Okezie, originally from Philadelphia. Currently live in Hampton, Virginia. Went to college at Hampton University, where I received a full scholarship for track and field. Now I am competing internationally for Team Nigeria. So, quick little synopsis: got my master's in sports management from Hampton University as well. Quick little bio.
Okay. Now you run track. What is the event that you do, or what is the event
So,
that you specialize in?
so I run the 400. It's my specialty, 400 and down. Call me a relay specialist. So I can run all relays, 4x1, 4x4, mixed relay. But
What's your favorite?
400 favorite, 4x1 is definitely a face like the
Really?
4x4, definitely
Wow.
4x4s.
Okay. That would a 4x1. What leg?
Definitely anchor, bringing it home. Meanwhile, I feel like 4x1 just because it's shorter. It's not that much nerves in the 4x4. It's a lot more things that could go wrong, go right. So 4x1, it's over in 10 seconds.
What's your favorite leg for the 4x4? If you get to
All
choose.
depends on all depends on the team I have.
Okay.
So if the team is a solid team, anchor,
Okay.
first league, second league, never went third league, but definitely first or last.
Okay. Either to pop it off or to end it off.
Yep.
Okay. How did you get into track? Did you
So
start when you
funny
were younger?
story. Yes. So funny story. In the eighth grade is I started off sports playing football. So football was my first sport, first love. Played wide receiver, DN, safety. But one day, one of my classmates used to always leave class early, like almost every week. And I was like, bro, how you leave class? And he's like, I run track. He's like, you should run track too. He's like, plus you could be a faster wide receiver if you run track. So I looked at him, I was like, that sounds good. I want to be faster anyway, so it's not gonna hurt. Let's try it out. So he's like, we got a track meet tomorrow. Me not knowing anything about track, I was like, okay. I'm thinking he talking about we have a track meeting.
Hmm.
So came to school ready to take notes and figure out what's going on. He's like, you got your shoes, your track shoes. I was like, track shoes. What do I need track shoes for? And then next thing you know, luckily track meet got canceled that day. So I was able to run to the store and get some sprinting shoes or running shoes at the time. But ever since then, definitely say I fell in love with the sport.
Okay. How did you know you were a 400 runner? How did you know what? Did you start off with the 400 actually, or did you just do like, no, I'm only doing short sprints? Well, shorter sprints,
So
I would say.
I'll say funnies, the same year, the first thing the coach put me in was a 400. My first race, no training, no nothing. I went out there and I ran 101 and I won the race. I was like a little dual meet. So I won the race. I'm hyped, excited. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is it's easy. Everybody's getting tired. I'm just picking it up. The next meet, I ran like 102. Then the next meet after that, I ran 103. So I was just like, I mean, I guess this is okay. It's not too bad. And then high school is when my coach put me in a lot more events. So that's when I started doing 300 hurdles, 4x8s, high jump, long jump, triple jump, anything to get some points. But the one that stuck with me the most, I felt most confident in was the 400. So it was, I'll say, everything just clicked in the 400.
Okay. What high school did you go to?
New Media Technology Charter School. Sadly, it got shut down in 2016, I believe.
Hmm. I was wondering about that. Okay. So when you went there, were you also playing? Did you have a football team at New Media?
Sadly, they did not have a football team, and I think that's what really drove me to run track because in the area before I got to the school, so that was one of my choices, and Northeast was my number one choice. Funny story. So before getting into New Media, I was waiting every day to get my Northeast acceptance letter because I was in the zone for the school. So I had to get into the magnet program. I got my letter the day of like the first week of school. It was like you be in this classroom and this. By that time, I already mentally prepared myself to go to New Media. So I was kind of
Mm.
sad at the point, but I was like, hey, everything happened for a reason.
We would have been at the same high school. Oh my
Tell me about
goodness. That would have. Oh my goodness. They would have loved it. Everybody would have loved it. Oh my goodness.
yeah.
Okay.
Every,
Well,
every time I tell Keenan and Yenny about that situation, they always get upset. Like, man, you should still came. I was like, hey, it wasn't up to me.
you would have definitely had a bomb 4x4 squad for sure. That would have
No, we
dominated the
would have
club.
he would have took over everything. You talked
Yeah.
about a 4x1, 4x4, 200, 400,
It
100,
would have been a clean sweep.
literally.
Okay. So did that bother you though that you weren't playing football anymore?
So it didn't really bother me because I still played around with football.
Okay.
But my freshman year, I played on like a club team, like one of those like AU Pop Warner teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I still had the feel for the sport. But then my next year is when I took track more serious. I remember I went to it was like a winter football team. So I went out there to play, and then since I was tall and was kind of fast, I wasn't fast yet, but I was kind of fast. So every time we ran routes, the quarterback will overthrow me by 5 yards. And meanwhile, I was more of a defensive kind of player, so I like playing defense more. So they kept making me run routes, run routes. So I just like, yeah, I like running, but this is a little extreme running all these routes. So I talked to my track coach about it, and he's like, yeah, whatever you want to do, we support you 100%. So once he said that, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna hang up my pads and really take track serious. And then after that, say the rest was history.
So for someone who can possibly be going into high school and they want to, would you suggest them to focus on one sport? Or what if they do have football and also track inside their school? But they don't know, like, oh, I want to play football, but I want to run track. Should they just stick to both, fill it out, and see what they want to do? Or would you say narrow it down and really focus on one sport?
I would say it's always a point in time where the sport will tell you, because I always say just go with what you feel most comfortable with. Sometimes you may have a better opportunity in track. A lot of people that I talk to that I coach be like, "Oh, I love football." Then I ask them a few questions: Are you starting? Are you putting up stats? Like, what is your measurements, your measurables? And then with track, it's like, okay, if once you step on the track, you're gonna have results. You're gonna have some times because one of the main reasons I stopped playing football, like that situation, I kept running routes. The quarterback was overthrowing me each time. So it's like I'm doing my part, but the quarterback's not doing his part. Just like in football, it's way more factors that you got to consider. The track is just you train, you go on the track, you let the results show. So I always tell people, do what you like the most, and then if one is hindering the next one, then you have to drop one. But I always say life is about balance. So if you could find a balance between them all, go for it.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about your high school career. How was it going into, ninth grade, then 10th? Were your times getting quicker? Did you go through a little hump? What would you say? How was your overall high school experience?
So overall, I'll say I'll start from the start. So I say freshman year, I was I'll say new to track and field. So in my head, it was just okay. We run. That's all we do. We just run, run, run. So I was only running. Let's say I did not hit 54 yet my freshman year.
Hmm.
So to me, 54 was fast. as a freshman. I'm like, okay, everybody on my team run 54, so I got to run a 54. So right now I'm at 58. I can get there. So fast forward to 10th grade, once I started taking it serious, I remember I think it was the meet a champion meet. I ran 50, I think it was I ran 54 indoors or 53 indoors
Okay, this was sophomore year.
my sophomore year. So I was like, once I ran that, that's when before that, that's when I wanted to play football. Then my coach was like, hey, you need to take it serious. Like you was one place off winning the meet of champions your sophomore year. Or the novice meet. That was the novice meet.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, well, if if I'm if I got 6 seconds faster from last year to this year, like I could only continue to grow. So then 11th grade year is when everything started clicking. I went 51 to finish off the year, I believe. And then senior year ran 48:11. So every year was like a drastic drop. And then in the summer times where I had the most fun, when I was splitting 46s. So I was like, it's working. Something is happening. Something is working. I'm destined to do this. So let me just continue to go because I had some very unfortunate. We never at my high school we didn't have a track. We didn't have a weight room or trainers or anything like that. That some of the other schools had. Like we practice on the sidewalk outside of the track because most days they lock the track and say y'all can't use it.
Wow.
So I feel like every day it was like I won't say a struggle, but it made me love it more. Like I was appreciative every time I touched the track. Like, oh yeah, we have hurdles today. The hurdles we have in my school, my coach bought like 5 hurdles just so we could go over hurdles.
That was nice.
So
Okay.
it was a lot.
What was your motivation through that though? So, some people can't take that. Like, we don't have a track. We have to practice outside. I'm shin splints and now things of that nature. So what was your I'm going to say motive, but how did you keep going? Did you have support? Was it more so a mentor or was it just more so internal motivation?
I'll say it was a combination of all of the above. Like I had my coach was one of my mentors. He was a teacher at the school, and like he was real close. Like we always talked. If I was a good kid, but if I was not in class, if I didn't have a free block, I'll be in his class or just messing around with talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he played a big factor of just me continue to run it. Just because I seen his love of the sport. He was always telling me like to be successful, you must be a student of the sport. So that all like I'll be in his room watching track videos or just growing my love of the sport. Like just looking at things like, hey, this is what this person is doing. This is what this Olympic champion is doing. This is what this person is doing. Hey, did you see this track meet from over the weekend? And those things was just like exciting to me. Like, because I always envisioned like one day I'll be on that stage. One day I'll be on TV running. So that was always my goal. Started off in high school, just flow track. Like I always was like, I want to get an interview. I can't wait to get interviewed by these people. And he was like, you know what you gotta do? I was like, what? So you gotta run fast. I was like, that's it. So that always was a motive for me. Like, hey, if I run fast, if I win this meet, I could get an interview. Then that turned to if I continue to get interviews, I could potentially make a team. If I make a team, I could be a champion. So it's always like those internal building blocks. Like I want to be the best. So
Okay. And did you run? Obviously, I know, but for the audience, did you also run for a club during high school? Did you, during the summers, was it you were resting your body? Did you take off or did you still compete? What did you do during the
so
summertime and during your downtime?
summertime was all track. So that's where I grew the most love for the sport. Like I remember in my 10th grade years when I just started running, and then I seen the capabilities of what track can really do. Like we was traveling almost every weekend, different states, and then just that experience of just traveling, meeting new people, bonding with your teammates outside of like a regular high school track meets. 30 minutes down the street, 30 minutes back. Now we on the car driving to Louisiana to Texas, like, and that bond that you have with your teammates in those moments was just like, oh, this is fun. Like this is entertaining, I should say.
We built some great relationships on those road trips.
Yes. So think
Okay.
about most of them now. I
Yeah, that was New Orleans was 2010, 11, something like that.
think it was
Because I was on the 14, I
10.
want to say 14 group. Yeah.
One of those years.
Because remember when you was on that bomb squad at 4x4 and y'all had
Yep.
what, blisters? Because of the track was being so hot. It
Yeah,
was
it
like
was it
104.
was it was blazing. I remember that a lot. Like right after you crossed the finish line, I was like, my feet. Why my feet hurt? I took my spikes off. I had like blisters all over my bottom of my foot, and I was like, yeah, this is tragic.
And they thought water in the track was going to help.
Yeah, it only made that joint hotter.
Right, for sure. All right, so when did you start looking into college? Was that 11th grade year or was that more so 12th grade year?
I'll say 11th grade year is when I had an idea, and funny enough, it all stems back to my AAU team. So two people and one person that you know, Keenan, a Northeast alum, and T.O. Jalil Rogers. They both was Hampton graduates or Hampton students at the time. And I remember I was at Mansfield practice, and T.O. was like, "Hey, what schools you thinking about going to?" And at the time, I didn't know nothing about track collegiately. I just know schools. I played football, so I knew of the football schools. So I'm like, yeah, I want to go to Penn State, LSU, Florida, Texas, Pitt. And he's like, what times? You know what times you got to run to get to those schools? It's like times. I'm like, no. And he's like, where do you rank amongst those kids like the team? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, you know the coach? You talk to the coach? Would he give you money? It's like money. I don't know. And he's like, yeah, you should look into Hampton. It's like a small school, D1. So he gave me like the rundown of Hampton University. I was like, that sounds pretty interesting. He's saying, plus you'll be like you'll be the number three sprinter right now, or the third or second 400-meter runner. And I was like, coming in as a freshman? He's like, yep. He's like, so with that, it's better than you going to Florida, you being the fifth guy on the team, LSU being the eighth guy. Especially at that time, my PR was like 48.9 or 49.8 going into my senior year. And I was like, I mean, I don't know what they're offering, but he was like, if you continue running fast, the coach will give you some money at Hampton University. And he's like, and plus you got family there, your club team people. And I was like, okay, you sold me. What I got to do, where I sign up at. Then he told me how to fill out the application. And I was like, okay, what next? And he's like, don't worry, I'll talk to the coach for you and he'll reach out to you. And then I remember, like yesterday, I signed a 50% scholarship at first. My first day on campus, the head coach talked to me. He was talking for a good little minute. And he was like, uh, Mr. Okezie, I believe that you can do great things. And I'm like, okay. He's like, so with that being said, I boosted your scholarship up from 50% to a full ride. And I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
okay. He's like, all you gotta do is go to the financial aid office and sign. Meanwhile, prior to that day, I did not know about scholarships. I did not know anything. I just knew I got accepted to the school and I got a scholarship. How the rest was going to get paid, I did not know. And there wasn't even a thought pattern going through my head. So everything worked out perfectly.
So are you glad you had that conversation to even go to Hampton?
Definitely.
Okay.
I feel like that. And it's funny because it was mid workout too. So it was like the most randomest thing ever. Plus, TL was a college student at the time. So he was visiting. And, when college students come back, visit the track, especially someone I didn't really know at the time, because he already graduated or he left like way before I started running for Mantua.
Hmm.
So when he was talking to me, I'm like, man, I don't really know what you're talking about, man. So stop
Hmm.
trying to talk to me. I'm trying to breathe. This is like mid rep. I just ran a 350. I'm tired. So, but once he said it, I was like, wait, he genuinely cares. Like, this is not just somebody who's just talking. Like, he's asking me serious questions, and all the answers I'm giving is, I don't know, no. Um, so once I start processing it, after I got my breath, I was like, wait a minute, this is actually some vital information. Let me take this serious and really go through this process and see what comes of it.
That's good.
So looking back at it, I'm very grateful for that situation.
Yeah. So for somebody who's looking for college, looking for a school, don't know where to start, you believe they should answer those questions that you were asked based off of knowing
Yes,
the times, knowing the school, reaching out to coaches, things of that nature?
yes, I'll say that definitely step one because you never know what's out there. Like you don't know what the coach will offer. You don't know what the school, especially now with the new dynamics of the transfer portal and all that. So a lot of kids are leaving colleges. So you can see, look at the teams like, oh, this school has X amount of runners. Unless you talk to the coach, you don't know how many of those X amount of runners are coming back. So it's definitely a good idea just to know the playing field before you get into it.
How did you prepare for college? Was college something you always wanted to do? Or was it like, if it happens, it happens?
I'll say it definitely was one of those situations where if it happens, it happens. Because for me, I was always a smart kid, but once I started playing more sports, my time started dwindling down, and then I did not like school. But then once I talked to my counselor, and she was like, in order to go to college, you have to do schoolwork. Like you have to like excel because you could be ineligible in college. But I was smart, so I had a 3.5 graduating high school. So
That was going to be my
that
next
part.
question. How were your grades?
Yeah, I wasn't a bad student. I just didn't like doing schoolwork after a period of time. My senioritis, let's just say.
that
So
kicked in
once we
early?
got kicked in early, soon first day of senior year, I was like, yeah, I'm done with school. But to fast
Okay.
forward, my SAT scores was I'll say average. I wasn't the best test taker. So one thing that led me to was going to pre college at Hampton University, and then pre college was just like you're basically taking like pre courses before college starts up.
Oh,
So some schools have like call like summer bridge or
yeah.
so I had to take an English class, a writing class, and a math class. Luckily, I only needed to take it for I think reading or writing. So I was able to get a head start on my GPA leading into the school year. So I passed all those classes. Then it made me I got a lot of I made a lot of friends in pre-college that set me up. So once school started, it was like, okay, I remember all these people's in my class in pre-college. I was cool in pre-college. Now we're gonna be cool in the regular season, a regular school year, and that gave me a better transition to the school year. While my teammates only knew their teammates, I had my teammates and I had my regular school friends. So that was like a good transition. So I never really felt like out of place.
Yeah, I would say that would be able to help because it kind of helped you get the feel for those college courses as well of how
Hmm.
all that setup would be. That's good.
Yep. Yeah, and it was real nice since it was like it was I don't say basic classes, but it was like reading 101, math 109, like the
Like the
not the
gen ed.
easiest courses, but like yeah, the general ed courses. Just so it's like okay, high school is one way, but college teachers with professors is okay. Here's a syllabus, read it, understand what's going to go on when we get to class on Thursday. Because next Tuesday we have a test, a quiz on
Quick,
these
real quick.
chapters. And it's like, whoa. Then some professors, depending on where you're at, will be like, did you read the syllabus? It was clearly stated in the syllabus. So once we heard that in pre-college, it's like, okay, they're telling us like, it's no pop quizzes. Everything is in the syllabus. Like everything is broken down for you right then and there. So that was definitely a good head start because high school, the teachers may tell you one thing, but it's like, okay, if we get it, get there, we get there. If not, I'll give everybody a grade, a B, C, or whatever. But college, they're on it.
Now, before I jump into your college career, I do have a question. So, what would you say was the most challenging thing throughout high school while competing? Was there any outside noise? Was there any distractions that you had to overcome? What would you say?
I'll say definitely it was some definitely some noise. So I'll say I remember this one situation. I was a very religious person, so I always went to church every weekend. And then once I started competing and playing sports, I started missing more church time. And I remember somebody was like, "Hey, why don't you create your own league and you just run against people over here in the church, so you don't have to and put on like on a Tuesday, so you're not missing church." And it hit me. I was like, it's not how any of this works. Like I want to be a professional athlete. This is not a hobby to me. Like a lot of people think it's a hobby. They're like, oh, you do this for fun. Yes, I do it for fun. But in my head, I was like, I want to do more. Like I know my potential. I can like God took and I said this back then, I was like, God gave me this gift and this is me worshiping. Like some people could sing, some people could dance, some people could play music. Me, I run. So that was how I use my talents.
What would you say? So when that was happening, how did you get past that? Was it again just more so a mental thing for you that you was like, okay, I just know I have to get past this. I know I'm still gonna. Did you make up for what you were missing on the weekends with you being religious? How did you do it during the weekday now? Did you add an extra day in?
So I think it was more so mental, but it was like, so I pray a lot. So it's like I'll talk to God and in my eyes and in my reasoning, I'll be like, if God wanted me to do something or not want me to do something, he will take those opportunities away. But once I made it clear, like this is what I want to do, my purpose, this is my goals. I'll say doors just started opening. So it's like I started running faster, like, and it was like it was crazy to think, but it was like I literally just for every track meet I pray, for every race I pray, after every race I pray, and then like I don't say like it be moments where like I'm running, but it's like I don't know anything that's going on. And afterwards, I'm like, bro, like I just ran at the time in high school like 48. I was like, whoa, I just split 46. And I was like, this is crazy. I didn't do nothing different. So I used to think situations like that, like God was using me, like, okay, like don't be weird, like don't back down from this gift, like embrace it. So it was definitely a mental thing, and it's like those signs was clear as day.
That's good. Okay. So let's hop into now your college career. I know a lot of things have happened during your college career. What would you say the most significant or memorable thing during your track career in college would be?
I'd say most memorable was probably qualifying in the 4x4 for nationals one year. So we had I'll say a mishap my sophomore year. We lost our coach and we got a new coach, and a lot of outside factors was playing into the reasons why he left. So then my sophomore year, we didn't qualify for nationals, but we qualified for nationals my freshman year. So my junior year was I'll say the revenge tour. So that was probably one of my best races at regionals where I walked down somebody from Florida University. So
Okay. What does
winning
okay?
at
Not
it.
not everybody knows track. So what does a walk down mean?
Okay, so I got Florida got the baton before me, and then I passed the baton off before Florida.
Okay.
And
Where'd you
the
get them
the
at?
significance, I called him at like the 120 and just
Okay.
gave him a
Just
nice little gap.
okay.
But the key to the most important thing about that was because Florida was one of the greatest 400 schools, and then me being at Hampton University, a small HBCU where a lot of people don't know, it just it made me show people like it doesn't matter what jersey you have on, it just matters like who the person inside the jersey. A lot of people will see Florida like, oh no, Florida, like we got Florida in our heat, but the mentality behind it was like we all human, so we put our pants on one leg at a time, just like them. So
Perfect.
it was
Okay.
very memorable.
So what were you running in college? What would you say Was your times always dropping now, like how high school was, or did it fluctuate?
So one of those crazy situations. So my freshman year, I came into college running 48:11. After my freshman year, I ran 46:1. But they
Ooh.
fought. So 2-second PR in 1 year, but they fired that coach. So my sophomore year, I was I had I think my season's best was like 47.9. So I was like here, then I dropped down, and then I was working my way back up. So I didn't PR again until my senior year, and I ran 46.0 at regionals and qualified for nationals. So it was one of those full circle moments where I'm like grateful for it, and then at the end, I just always be like, everything happened for a reason. So because after they fired my coach freshman year, I was thinking about transferring to go to any other school.
Okay. What
So
made you stay?
so back then it was a very difficult process to transfer.
Yeah. Yep.
So we needed to get like a release form just before you can talk to a coach, just before you can think about talking to a coach.
Hmm.
So then I need to make sure because I already had a full scholarship, so I didn't want to leave a full scholarship to go somewhere else where I would not know the outcome. So I remember me and a few of my teammates, we went to the admissions office or the athletic office to get our release forms, but the forms they gave us was a relinquish and aid form. So it was like a crazy thing. We was going on after like, hey, what's this? Like, this is not the release form. If we would have signed this and gave back, he would have took our scholarship. So then as we're going through the process, he was like, yeah, y'all can't transfer because y'all don't have a legitimate reason to transfer. So they was playing like we had to jump through a
You
lot of
couldn't.
hoops.
Yeah, you couldn't transfer for a sport.
Hmm.
Okay.
But in the long run, I feel like it was some undercover stuff going on, but they just didn't want us to leave.
Well, luckily you did stay though. Everything happens for a reason, right? So
Yep.
you were able to stay during. I want to say actually throughout high school or college at the collegiate level. Have you ever had a major injury that has stopped you from running in a race?
So my senior year, excuse me, I strained my hamstring like a light grade 1 strain in my hamstring, and it was senior year, so I was very very upset. Meanwhile, I had it in the 4x1. So ran the whole race, felt good, passed the baton off, felt the sharp pain in my leg. Like, ooh, it's different. First injury, major injury that really sat me out for some time. But what I did that was, I'll say, that got me back on track real quick. So I was always in the training room. So my schedule, my class schedule, and it was pretty flexible and it was real close to the training room. So early in the mornings, like before I go to class, I would wake up by 7 or 8 o'clock, go to the training room, go to class before practice, go back to the training room, do more rehab stuff. After practice, goes back to the training room, do recovery stuff. And I did that for at least 6 weeks, like every day, like faithfully, like I didn't miss a day. And I feel like that what propelled me to really get back healthy.
Okay. Would you say that is something, and would you encourage others or athletes, even those who are in high school or at the collegiate level, to always get treatment, no matter if their body's feeling, down, or if somebody's like, "Oh, I'm okay"? Would you encourage that? Like, just still go and get treatment to heal your body?
Yes, 100%, 100%. One thing I'm very adamant about is just taking care of your body, recovery, rest, because luckily my body always bounced back. But growing up, I was always one of those type kids like, oh, I'm okay, like I'm good. If I don't think about it, it's not gonna hurt no more. Just because
Mhm.
that's what we was taught. Then I heard in the interview someone's like, yeah, treat your body like a car. You know, those people who wash their car every week, they get their oil changed, They rotate the tires, they vacuum the insides. And I was thinking of that. I'm like, you take all this care and love into your car. Why don't we take the same care and love in our bodies, especially if we're athletes? So then following that, I used to hear like how much money LeBron spends on recovery, on rest, and just treatment. So I was like, if LeBron's the greatest basketball player, like let me start doing more for my body.
Absolutely. Chidi, let me ask, how tall are you?
I am 6'6".
What made you not play basketball?
That is a great question, but I feel like growing up in I'll call it the urban city of Philadelphia, where everybody had hoop dreams of playing basketball or playing football. And I don't say in the neighborhoods I grew up in, basketball always was a violent sport in my head. So it's always arguments, there's always pushing, shoving, people play not by the rules. And that just deterred me from the sport all in general. Just because
Okay.
I was like, if I'm going up for it, me, I'm tall. So people always want to put the biggest person on me. They always want to be elbowing me in my ribs. I go up for a dunk or just jump. Somebody's pushing me. So it's just like the level of fairness wasn't never there. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go play football where if you push me hard, I could not I could use my shoulder pad and really I don't say do some damage, but I was I like football better.
Okay. Do you right now? Do you still watch? Do you watch basketball and football and everything still, or no?
Yep.
You just-
I'm
Okay.
a sports enthusiast. Love all sports.
Okay. What's your favorite sport?
Football.
Okay. That's funny because a lot of track runners don't say that track is their favorite sport.
Yeah, I love track, but if a football game is on and the track meet is on, I'm watching the football game and I'll watch the track highlights.
Honesty, I like it. Oh, great. Okay. So at the collegiate level, after that, you did get your degree, or did you go back and get
Yes.
your degree?
So graduated in 4 years, got my degree.
Okay.
Then I took a gap year. I'll say I just was training, still in the area, and then one magical day, one of my advisors was like, "Hey, I need a GA. Would you want to be my GA?" I was like, "What's a GA?" She's like, "My grad assistant." I'm like, "Oh, that sounds calm. That sounds cool." And she was like, "Yep, you just gotta go to grad school." And I was like, "Grad school? I mean, I'm done with school. I don't want to do no more schooling." And she told me like the perks of it, and I was like, that sounds cool. I'll do it." Next thing I know, I got my master's. So
Look at that. That's decent. That's real good. Knowing you went from high school like, oh, senioritis, to now you
yeah,
having
yeah.
you have the master's degree. So once you took your gap year, you were training. What were you training for?
So I want to say that year I was training for the Olympics. I believe that was 2015 going to 2016. So I was like really focusing on like, okay, the coach I was with had a bunch of Hampton alums go to the Olympics. I was like, my goal is to be a Hampton Olympian. Like, I can do it. So it was crazy that year. The qualifying standard was 45-40, and my season's best that year was 45-64.
Oh
So
man.
I missed it by that much. But I feel like missing it by that close is like, okay, if it's a lot of things I was not doing, I know I can get it by doing these things. So just train hard and continue pushing.
So was there any discouraged though? Like was it like any thought of ever like throughout this entire sport, like track is not easy. Like what we do, well, I'm not gonna say what we do, you still do. What actually happens here is that other sports like punishment. Like, oh, y'all gotta go run now.
Hmm.
For us, it's like this is what we do. So during that time, and you're like, oh, I just missed it by X amount. Was it more so discouraging? Like, should I still do this? Or did you ever in your entire career thus far have the idea of quitting?
So it definitely was a moment where I won't say I was discouraged, but it was like when, like you said before, all the noise of the background. So I remember, I can't remember who it was. I don't want to put a name on that person, and it was not them, but somebody who's close to me was like, "Oh well, if you didn't qualify, should you still be running anyway?" And like I'm a kind of person where I use stuff like that as motivation. Like, okay, I remember you said was not, or I just missed it, so that means I wouldn't even be a factor in the games. So it's always like, okay, now I'm gonna train even harder because if I didn't lift weights, if I didn't have a nutrition, I didn't eat this, I didn't do this, like I didn't take protein, and there's a lot of things like I talked to like other people who was running faster than me. I was like, bro, what do you do? Like, and they'll tell me all the things like, oh, I get massages weekly, I do this, I'm in a weight room 24/7, and I'm like, dang, I don't lift weights, I don't have a will weight plan, I don't do any of these things, and in my eyes, I didn't see it as I just missed it, or I missed it by a point too far. I was like, dang, I almost made it. Like, so I always look at the positive of it. So it never really hindered my thought pattern. But to spin back in 2021 after the Olympic fiasco, that's when I was just like, whoa, is this, am I really destined to be running? Because what happened was I was technical issues, so I couldn't compete in the Tokyo Olympics. So I didn't find that out until getting to Tokyo. So probably I'll say a week before competing, it was like, yeah, you can't compete because the technical issues. So we could try to get it fixed so we can see. So through that process, it was 10 days. I remember the 10 days like yesterday. Every day we go into another meeting with board people, with officials from the meet, trying to get things situated and straight until like day number 8. It was like, oh, yep, sorry, there's nothing we can do. The team runs tomorrow. Sorry. And then that really played a big effect because I was like, yeah, I'm finished. Like I'm done. Like this is like I don't want to. This is not. I always say it's not fun. So the reason I run is because it's fun. Once I'm gonna stop having fun, I'm done. And in that process, I was like, yeah, this is very demotivating. If I work this hard to get to the Olympics after missing the Olympics last time, just to get here, and it's like, oh, well, sorry, nothing we can do for you. That really played a big factor. But then in those post Olympic months, everybody who I knew was still supportive. So a lot of people would tell me like, "Congratulations at the Olympics," and I'm like, "Congratulations." He's like, "Yeah, we seen you at the Olympics." And I was like, "You seen me at the Olympics?" But that whole process was like inspiring. Like if I did not run, if I did not compete, but people are still congratulating me, I wonder what will happen if I do compete, if you really do see me on TV. So it always kept me going in a sense.
I see that you turned a lot of negativity into positive. Like I throughout everything that you're saying, even the minor injury, the technical issues, just far as with the Olympics and things of that nature. Like you've turned everything like the positive outcome of things, which is great because that's I think definitely something you need in any sport, whether you're playing
Hmm.
football, baseball, or anything. So now that what was that 2021? When did you
Yep.
start? Did you start training again that same year, or did you train the following year?
So I after the Olympics, I took I want to say 3 months off,
Okay.
and in that 3 months, I switched coaches, and that was just like a big part of like everything that happened at the Olympics. It was like, okay, I need to do more, and I'm a kind of person I like accountability.
Okay.
But if like say if I'm not being held accountable, it's just like, okay, well, I got this far by doing this, and I'm was consistently at that level for about 4 years. So it's like, okay, I'm since 2016 to 2021, I was running 45.6, 45.5, 45.6. And I was like, it's not slow, but I want to be faster. So let me start doing more to be faster. So once I switched coaches, me and the coach, we had a conversation about the goals and the plans that we're gonna put in forth. And once from that, I was like, okay, like I'm ready.
So how did you know that you needed to switch coaches? And how did you know what coach to switch with? Was it more so with that research and who was running fast and things of that nature?
So funny story. So the coach that I'm with now was a coach at Hampton University, one of my college coaches, but I never trained with him. I never practiced with him. I used to see him from afar. But after Olympics, he he was no longer at Hampton University.
Okay.
So that gave me an opportunity. Like I'm like, oh, well, why did he leave Hampton? Figure out the reasons. Like, okay, well, I seen what he did with less talented people to get them to where they're at now. So I was like, I always was always a thought pattern. Like if I train with him and have my coach now, because my coach now is a technical coach. Like he have you will know is everything you're doing while running. And with my coach back then, I was like, if I had both of them combined, oh, I'll be unstoppable. But once he left Hampton, I was like, hey, it's an opportunity. Let me reach out to him and see. Because I remember my strength and conditioning coach. It's something he said that stuck with me. And he was like, "This Chidi, this is your career. Like you could choose any coach. The coach will be fine at the end of the day, but your career will not be if you choose a wrong coach or if you do like if you continue doing what you're doing. The coach that I was with will still be successful." He's like, "But if you fall off, that's your fall off. The coach will still be getting paid, still be going where he's going." And I thought to myself, like, like you're absolutely correct. Like the coach will still be a top tier coach, but I will not still be a top tier athlete. So that's when I really had to make that decision. Like, okay, let me make this faith, this leap of faith, and see what comes from it.
So something else that I caught that you said, and I hope the audience caught it as well. You reached out to people who were running times that you wanted to run or even faster times. How did you? I know a lot of people don't do that because of their pride or ego, or they're like, no, that's my competitor. I'm not reaching out to them. I'm not seeing. How did you even come up with the thought process of like, hey, this person is running, the 45, or this person just hit a 44? Like, hi, with like, how did you come to the like? Let me reach out to them and see what they're doing.
So it mainly more so was like my friends. Not really, I wouldn't really consider them like too much competitors at the time. They was competitors, but I was like, if this is one of my friends who's running fast, and this is one of my friends who's running fast, let me just pick their brain, let me see what they're doing, ins and outs, and go from there. But in my head, when we're on the track, we're competitors. But outside of the track, it was like, okay, we're friends, we're cool. It's not like I'm gonna, because I always just say, I heard this, everyone, the recipe will always be the same. But if everybody cooking it will not taste the same. So when I heard that, I was like, He was like, this thing about there's 1,000 bread companies. Why is Wonder Bread here? But this potato bread's here. And I was always just thinking like, that makes sense. Just because you have the purpose person workout doesn't mean you're gonna run fast. Just because you know what their protein they're taking doesn't mean you're gonna run fast. Depends on like the work ethic you put in behind it. And I knew my work ethic was top tier. So I was like, it's something else that's missing that I need to gain to get that. Because in my eyes, I always thought I was the fastest person on the track.
Okay. All right. And then, so right now, you are currently where are you located?
Currently, I am in Canada, but I live in Hampton, Virginia.
Okay. So you're in Canada right now. Why are you in Canada? What's going on in Canada?
So I have a track meet tomorrow in Canada. It is a silver level meet, so a top tier competition with international athletes from all over. So it's like a prep meet for Nigerian trials, which will be next week. Then African Championships, which will be that same week.
Okay. So the trials. Okay, let's rewind. Have you already qualified for trials?
So yes, I qualified for trials and African championships. Right now, my main goal is to qualify in the 400 for the Olympics.
Okay. And what time do you have to hit for the Olympics?
So the qualifying standard is 45 flat. Right now, my season best PR is 45.06.
Oh, you got
So,
it. You
so
got
close.
it. No, you got it. That's amazing. 45 for people who don't know track, and know what a 400-meter is. That's one time around the entire track in 45 seconds. People are like, I can't even get to the 245 seconds. But that you have that tomorrow. Definitely good luck. I'll definitely put in a prayer for you. And now you have trials. Now is the trials, is it the rounds, or there is it shorter because it's not that many competitors?
So it will be trials, will be prelims, finals, I believe. Right now, we have a pretty strong team in the 400. It's probably, since I've been running for Nigeria, this is the best 400 group as a unit we ever had. So we had one of my young mentees who go to Alabama. He got second at NCAA's, and his PR is 44.54, I'm gonna say.
Okay.
But with people like that, I'm like, okay, yeah, we're solid. We had another guy who just graduated from Michigan. He ran 45.3 as a PR. So we definitely have the depth now. So before I was like the lone star in the 400, the next person be like a half a second. Then we'll have like 1 year where everybody's at the same, but then one person will get hurt. Then it's like, dang, you only had four people running fast. Now we got to go find someone else. Now we have five people running fast, six people that's in the pool, eight people who could potentially do something. So trial's definitely going to be interesting.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good one. Okay. How's your nutrition? Like amongst all of this?
So I'll say I eat a very well-rounded, I have a well-rounded diet. I don't eat strict. I don't have like I don't count my carbs or anything like that. But I want my, because I grew up in a Jamaican household. So we always had rice, protein, and a vegetable. So I always try to follow that game plan. Like if I have rice, some chicken, some broccoli on the side, or mixed vegetables. But I always try to have colors on my plate.
What about for breakfast though? What do you do for breakfast?
Breakfast varies, all depends on time, but I always try to eat oatmeal in the mornings. Uh, Depends on if I have a lot of time, I'll try to make myself an omelet. Love omelets. Uh, Boiled eggs if I'm like crunch for time, and if I'm on the go with the oatmeal, maybe some turkey sausage or something like that. But something light, some fruit, definitely can keep me going because I love breakfast. So waffles.
How many hours before do you eat before your race? Or do you eat?
That's a varies on when the race is because I
Okay.
try to always eat breakfast, but sometimes I don't, or I try to make sure I eat a heavy breakfast. So maybe like a lot of food if I run like later on. If it's like a 3 o'clock race, I probably won't eat lunch
Okay.
just because like I don't say it's nerves, but it's like it's hard to. I don't have an appetite most times during meet days for lunch. But if it's a night meet, I'm definitely eating like at least 2 hours before the race.
Okay. And now last one of my pop questions here that I want to ask. How do you prepare for your meet? What music do you listen to? What's your playlist? Do you listen to music?
Yes, so I have I say a mental routine. So I do a lot of like mental stuff pre-meet. So I may go to the track, I may walk a lap around the track, envisioning my 400s, just like, okay, I do this. I'm running fast times in my head. Like, okay, if I do this right here, that's perfect. Then I'll go relax, sit down for a minute, just breathe, just make sure I'm calm. Then music wise, my music choices varies. So it could be I could be listening to Christian rap one day, 1 minute. Next thing I'm listening to trap music. I could be listening to R&B, but it's like whatever I'm in the mood for at that moment. Because sometimes I'll listen to Afro pop, not even Afro beats, it's Afro pop. Like it randoms.
It just really
But
depends on what mood you're in for that race. And
yeah, whatever gets the body going.
okay, perfect.
But prior, I used to create like
Playlist.
I call them hype playlists. Like it'd be music of like the most hype songs during that time frame. So every year, this year I didn't create one, but every year I used to create like the best hype songs. They'd be like, okay, if I'll call it like my pre-workout stuff. So it's like, okay, if I'm feeling flat, I start playing the music. Then automatically I start like bobbing my head or start dancing. It's like, okay, I'm feeling hype. I could do my warm up. I'm feeling bouncy. I'm feeling nice. But it's all about having that balance because you can't be too hyped during the warm up, and then by the time the race comes, you have no energy. So
Definitely. I can't have you wasting your energy on your warm up.
yeah, you out there dancing and just
All right. If there would be anything that you can go back and change, it could be from when you were, even 5 years old, 7, it could be 14, it could be 21. Would you go back and change anything?
where I'm at now today, I'll say no. Mainly because I believe that everything happened for a reason. All my success, all my failures. Maybe moments where I'm like, dang, I wish I didn't do that. But I just learn from the situation and be like, okay, now I know if I do this, the outcome. Because every situation has a consequence. Every action has a consequence. So it's like now I'm grateful for all of my shortcomings and things of that nature because it made me more appreciative of every little thing I had. So I love it.
Now, with what you know now, and let's say you can see yourself growing up, becoming a young man, becoming a man, what advice would you give yourself?
I'll say pre-sports. If I'm talking to a pre-sports Chidi, I'll definitely tell them like to keep believing in yourself.
Okay.
Uh, embrace the hate because a lot of times people will just be like, okay, I got haters or people hating on me, and they give those people energy. What now? I just be like, okay, like that's your
Yeah.
opinion. Your opinion is your opinion. Everybody is subjected to their opinion, but telling my younger self, don't let that affect you. Like people will talk, say let them say whatever they want to say. Just you let your actions prove them wrong. Like actions speak louder than words. So that's definitely something I'll tell them, and definitely keep believing in yourself because that's step one. If you can believe it, you can achieve it.
There you
Especially where I'm at now, looking back at everything. When I should tell people I wanted to be an Olympian or I wanted to be a professional athlete, the remarks I used to get used to be hilarious. But now I'm at where I'm at. People like, "Oh, I knew you could do it." I'm like,
It's
did
like
you?
it's like that post where it was like, when you first start, it's like one person in the stadium, and then
Hmm.
when you're at the end and you have the results, the whole stadium is filled with congratulations. Yeah.
I remember that post because even that's a funny post because I remember I posted that on my story after I qualified for the 2021 Olympics.
Mm.
There was people who I never spoke to posting me on their story like, "Yeah, it's my bro. We go way back." And I was like, interesting. I remember we had one conversation. Like I remember you because we had a conversation, but yeah,
They come from out of anywhere, out the far. Listen, We went to school together. I practiced with them. Yep.
Like, yeah, you was on the team for a week.
Listen, a lot of people don't make it. Okay. So, um, just right now, I know you are wearing one of your shirts that says "Believe." Yep, Believe Athletics. Real quick, can you tell me what it is, just so the audience can know? I know you have something special going on with Believe Athletics.
So what Believe Athletics is a business I created just mentoring and training athletes. So my goal with Believe Athletics is to become a cornerstone in development of athletes. So it comes from giving myself things that didn't receive as an athlete, especially now in this crazy time of social media. So things we do, we help out with like just every aspect of sports. So it goes from training to recovery to now NIL stuff to like the mental side of things. So it's like being that full complete athlete because what I intend to do is to be a trainer like no other. Like
Okay.
a lot of sports trainers train just one sport, one skill. With me, I want to be able to do
They give like
everything.
the full circle. Yeah.
Yep.
They can
So
come to you for everything to be that great athlete. Now, what's your age range? Is it just high school? Is it middle school? Is it collegiate athletes with
if you want to be an athlete, I coach kids from I think the youngest kid I coached was 7,
okay.
and the oldest was a college student. So if you willing to put in the work, I'm willing to coach because I always feel like I was never the best athlete. I wasn't the most talented. I wasn't the most in football. I wasn't the hardest hitting. I wasn't the best. I almost got cut from football. Same thing with track. I wasn't the fastest on the track team at first, but working hard every day, training, putting in the work, eventually I became the person I am today. So going back, like to the last question, this is something that I love so I can give to the next generation. So a lot of times kids, I don't say are doubtful, but they don't know their true potential because no one ever showed them what they can do. And I always say I am a living testament of I didn't have the resources. I didn't have, I'll say all the support. I had my family support, but not the community support. So now looking back, it's like, hey, if you can do this, you can train off YouTube. You could stretch this.
Yeah.
So it's just like the little things I do to make sure athletes become their best self.
Okay.
But all starts with believing.
If somebody wants to become, and get involved with Believe Athletics, what should they do? How is that
I'll say
possible?
definitely follow us on Instagram at Believe Athletics underscore, or just follow me, Chidi Bang Bang, send me a DM. So I'm very personable. Like you send me a message and I don't see it, I'll say send another one. Or but if I am always willing to give help and receive help. So if someone wants to help, I'm open for it. It's gotta make sense.
I'm coming down. You're in Virginia. Well, once you qualify for Olympics, you do your thing at the Olympics. I'll see you after that.
All
Virginia's
right.
not too far from here for
Nice little
sure.
drive.
That's fine. Anything for you. Anything for you. All right. So what I'm gonna do, um, first and foremost, thank you so much for being on the podcast because I really, really appreciate it. Especially with you having that track meet tomorrow too. You really took the time to actually do this, which I appreciate. Last thing before I get you off, right now, as you can see, so this platform, just to remind you, is for student athletes coming up. You have athletes who might be 6, might be 7. Everybody's using YouTube to look up things to find their, that maybe their favorite athlete. With this platform, it allows you to provide your story as you did, and it's basically definitely want to help people because we didn't have this, especially coming up. We didn't know what obstacles we might have to overcome or what struggles we might go through or how to get through them. You couldn't really access anybody. Like you said, social media, you have a large variety of how you can actually be able to reach out to someone. However, what I want to make sure is someone that who might have a great story to also help the audience, maybe help the athlete or someone who might be struggling. Who would you refer to make sure they can actually be able to tell their story and actually help another athlete coming up? Who would you think? And it doesn't have to be track. It could be basketball, it could be football, it could be soccer, it could be hockey. Who would you think?
Like an athlete?
It could be a retiree. It could be a coach. I do have some coaches who've been on here.
I'll definitely say Ant Bishop. He's the current coach at Imhotep,
Okay.
and he was an athlete at Lincoln and King. So
You
I
said.
feel like he'll be a great person.
And then now, as you being an athlete, whose story would you want to hear from? And again, it could be any athlete in the world. It could be again, any sport. So whose story would you think you would be intrigued by? Who you would want to listen to?
And I feel like definitely Calvin Johnson.
Okay.
I feel like there's a lot of stuff you don't know. So
there we
hearing
go.
from him would be like, interesting.
So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure now. I'm gonna go ahead and get these people on. Make sure you look out so you could listen to their story, and also Calvin Johnson. But I appreciate you, Chidi. I really do. Good luck this weekend. I look forward to watching you as well. And be the best that you could be. I know you always put one foot forward and stay with that positive attitude and that positive mentality, because that's where it got you where you are today.
Indeed. And I appreciate you for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you.